All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about how big data is set to completely transform vocational education and training, or VET. We're talking about a massive shift from making decisions based on gut feelings to using cold, hard evidence.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if you could see when a student was heading for trouble long before they actually got there? Well, that's exactly the promise of data. And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi fantasy. It's really happening.
You know, the vet sector is a place where every decision is a big deal. The choices that educators and leaders make, they don't just impact budgets. They literally shape people's careers, their futures. So the pressure to get it right, it's huge.
So you got to ask yourself, what's really driving those critical choices? Is it solid data, or is it more of a hunch? You know, that gut feeling that tells you you're on the right track. For a lot of folks, it's usually the hunch.
In fact, there's actually a name for this phenomenon. It's called the Hippo model. That stands for the highest paid person's opinion. It's when their intuition, not the data, ends up driving the entire strategy. And research shows that even when data is sitting right there, a lot of managers, like those in South African TVET colleges, still fall back on the Hippo model. Why? Because they just don't feel confident enough to tell a story with the numbers.
But what happens when you move past the Hippo? Well, you unlock something that's basically a superpower. And to really get a feel for its potential in education, let's check out a few lessons from some absolute titans of industry.
Okay, take UPS. Get this. By analyzing over 200 different data points every single second from their trucks, they figured out that shaving just 1 mile off each driver's daily route saved the company $30 million a year. That's the absolutely staggering power of getting granular with data.
And this superpower isn't just for logistics companies. It's a total game changer for education, too. Purdue University, for instance, built a system they called Course Signals. It analyzed how students were using the online learning platform to flag anyone who might be at risk. This meant instructors could step in early. And the result? A 20% drop in withdrawal rates. Just incredible.
But hey, it doesn't always have to be about these massive, multi-million-dollar wins. Sometimes it's about something as simple as engagement. I mean, think about Netflix. They famously test everything, even the little pictures they use for a show's thumbnail. And these tiny, data-informed changes, they led to double-digit jumps in how much people watched.
So here's the bottom line. People often say data is the new oil. And you know what? It's a perfect analogy. Raw data, just like crude oil, is everywhere, and it's valuable. But on its own, it's kind of messy and not all that useful. You have to collect it, clean it, and process it before it becomes that high-octane fuel you need to power really smart decisions.
Okay, so we've seen what this stuff can do out in the wild. But how does this refined oil actually fuel real-world wins right there in the vet sector?
Well, for starters, it completely revolutionizes student support. Instead of just reacting when a student is in trouble, educators can get ahead of the problem. You can have systems that automatically figure out a student's weak spots and then build them a custom revision playlist. This totally changes the role of the instructor. You go from being a firefighter in a crisis to a mentor who's lighting the way. And believe me, this isn't just theory. Look at this chart. A study by Akchappanar and his team showed their predictive models could pinpoint which students were at risk with amazing accuracy just 3 weeks into the term. The model's prediction of who would fail was right 74% of the time. This is that early warning radar we were talking about, but for real. It gives advisors a precise list of who needs help the most right now.
And it's not just about what happens in the classroom. Data helps keep vet programs connected to the real world. The OECD found that by analyzing data from learning systems, you can actually predict skill shortages 6 months faster than with traditional surveys. This makes sure that what's being taught is what the job market actually needs. And it protects graduates from skills churn, you know, that awful cycle of learning a skill only to find out it's already outdated by the time you're looking for a job. So if the tech is this powerful, what's holding everybody back? Well, it turns out the biggest roadblock, it isn't about servers or software. It's about us. It's the human side of the equation. Really, the #1 barrier is a lack of what you could call analytics fluency. That's the skill of asking the right questions, knowing how to filter out the noise, and really understanding what the dashboards are trying to tell you.
And listen to this. This is a killer insight. Research from Lai found that Chinese vocational colleges that invested in training their people, their faculty, in analytics, saw way better program quality than the colleges that just poured money into better infrastructure. It proves it's not about the machine, it's about the person who knows how to use it.
And when you actually empower those people, wow, the results are incredible. Another study found that when trainers co-designed data dashboards with their students, engagement shot up by 30%.
See? Involving people in the process, giving them ownership, that's the key.
Now, I know this all might sound massive and maybe a little intimidating, but getting started doesn't have to be. So, how can you actually begin this journey toward a data-driven approach like today?
Here are your first 3 moves. They're simple and totally doable. First, start small and iterate fast. Don't try to overhaul the whole system at once. Just launch one pilot dashboard in a single course and see what happens. Second, focus on the questions, not the tools. Before you look at any software, figure out the one decision you really need to improve. Start there. And finally, embed ethics from day one. Seriously, it's so much easier to build privacy in from the start than to try and tack it on later.
So let's end on this. The whole journey from hunches to hard evidence, it all starts with a single question. So take a moment and really think about it. What is the first, most critical question you'll answer with data?